then, everyone. Good evening. It's Monday night, 8 p.m. UK time, and you're very welcome to the show, wherever you're watching this. Hello to all my friends over in YouTube, over on X, Facebook, Getter, wherever you are anyway. Remember, if you like the show, don't forget to hit the usual buttons, hit them down here, and send us your love so we know you're there. Hi, James Jimison, my friend. Good to see you as well. I got a lot of stuff to get through, basically, and a lot of it's going to be, hi Chris Davies, it's all going to be on essentially the events that happened over the weekend. I want to talk about on the train and the issues around. Hi Nicole, good to see you as well. So that's what I want to talk about. So hope that hopefully it should be interesting. Just before we get to that, I wanted to mention a donkey. I want to talk about a donkey just to start with. This is a story that I've not even commented on social media yet or anything, but this is pretty appalling. So it's a village in Oxford, in Oxfordshire. I think it's called Watchfield. Watchfield is a village in aloha, all the way from Hawaii. My great friend Donnie Girl, good to see you here. This is a horrible story I'm about to tell you, but anyway, I'll tell you it anyway. So a donkey was found raped. Yeah, raped. And the donkey is now, I understand, in fact, gang raped, I understand. It now lives under 24/7 CCTV protection in the village of, as I said, just beside Watchfield. Now, you might think, who the hell would do that? What sort of monsters would do that? You might think. And I might be able to tell suggest. And I suggest that it's interesting that apparently 175 Afghans were placed in proximity to this village under, the scheme that the UK has got, where apparently we just have to resettle Afghans here in the UK. It's just what we have to do. Anyway, just, exactly, Donnie Girl. And my broader point is, and I feel really bad for the donkey and the savages that would do that to an innocent animal. And then you think to yourself, well, if that's how they would treat an innocent animal, what do you think they might do to human beings? And that's why one of my arguments is that, as we saw just over a week ago, so much happens here so fast. We saw a week ago where you'll remember a guy out walking his dog was hacked to death by an Afghan migrant. Do you remember that? I know the media have kind of let that one drop. It won't have been dropped by his next of kin, mind you. And I'm saying that to keep people in the UK safe as a matter of national security, I think we have to deport all Afghans in the UK. We cannot take the risk. I think these programs that the British government has entered into because of a data leak, it's ridiculous. It's putting the lives of British people at risk so that Afghan people can be safe. Well, the first duty of any government is to keep its people safe. You follow me? Its people, not the people from a different country. And that's been catastrophically failure by this government. So they should indeed. Hi, Evola's sunglasses. Good to see you there. So yeah, Nicole, I just thought I'd start off with that one there. I hadn't planned. I just saw the story. I'll probably elaborate a wee bit on it tomorrow. Anyway, let's rewind the clock a wee bit to Saturday. And guess what? On Saturday, I was on a train. It was a very short train journey, mind you, but it was a train. And as you do, you open your phone and you just scroll to see what's happening in the world. And that's when the news broke that the incident had happened on a train in England. The train had stopped at Huntingdon. And well, I guess you know a lot of the detail. 11 people had been injured. Initially, they said several of them had life-threatening injuries. That's subsequently been revised. Certainly one person has life-threatening injuries, but they'd been stabbed. They'd been stabbed with a guy with a very large knife, and we'll get into all of that in due course. But it's just one of those stories that was so sickening that I read it, and I went on to X, where I've been heavily censored. I put out the a post that civil war is coming to the UK, and that's doesn't matter. You want to censor me all you want, it's still going to come. It got over 1 million views, so that seemed to hit a bell with people, and that's because I'm right. Now let's try and unpack the events of Saturday night, because it's gotten more complicated. Initially, this was the one you can see on screen. I mean, over 1 million people had a look at that on Saturday night, and I thought it was ironic. I'm sitting on a train tweeting about something that's happened on a train. There's a rich irony in that one there, that should be the case, but it's just the way it happened. And so the story basically was, as you know, that I think a train going from the north of England all the way down to King's Cross in London, someone had gotten on at a stop. And initially it was a couple of people, but it turned out to be one person. They'd got on at Peterborough, and they basically started just stabbing everybody on the train. And from the driver was able to do an unscheduled stop at a place called Huntingdon. Now, I know about Huntingdon. I've been there, but I'll talk to you about it because there's an irony. There's a definite irony in it anyway. And so the train stopped there. Armed police came on, and they stopped the guy before there had been even more damage done to the passengers on the train. But I don't know about you guys, but when I'm sitting on a train, I'm kind of relaxed. Depending on the length of the journey, I could be sitting having a coffee or a beer, glass of wine, whatever. You're in kind of comfort mode, aren't you? I mean, you're not basically looking over your shoulder thinking, am I going to be stabbed in the neck? And if I am, how do I try to defend myself? That's not the thought process when you're on the train. It is now. Trains are now part of the UK war zone. Yes, Chris Davies, Doncaster to London King's Cross. That's right. That's where it was. But it stopped at Peterborough. That's where the guy got on. And instantly, I think he pretty much started to do the stabbing. And then from Peterborough to Huntingdon is about 10 minutes, something like that. It's quite close. And that was what we knew on Saturday night. And then, of course, we've found out lots of other things. Interesting factoid about Huntingdon. That's where Oliver Cromwell was born. That's where look at the cut of this. Yeah, imagine my surprise. I guessed it was a Welsh choir boy. It was never going to be a Welsh choir boy. But back to Huntingdon. So, as I say, I've been there. I don't know if any of you've been there. A good friend lived in Huntingdon, so I've got reason to know it. And of course, Cromwell was born there. He went to Huntingdon Grammar School, so yeah, Oliver had a few ideas how to deal with things, didn't he? And when you look at what's happened since Saturday night until today, it's completely predictable what was going to happen. You knew what they were going to do. So initially, no information at all got out. Very important to control the narrative. Then, well, look, some people got hurt, right? And somebody probably hurt them. That was it. And then you just go through the cycle. There's like a 5-step program when it comes to all of these events. 5-step program. First thing is give as little information out as possible, right? Try to control social media. Make sure, if you possibly can, that this is how it came out originally. 9 people with life-threatening injuries after mass stabbing on trains in Cambridgeshire. Now, just on the subject of that, this happened in Cambridgeshire, and Peterborough, which is where he got on, is obviously in Cambridgeshire. A friend of mine has described Peterborough as looking more like Mogadishu than parts of the UK. That's how much Peterborough has changed. Peterborough is the sort of place you don't go to. And yet it sits there, and that's where this guy came from. Now, I don't know if he was living in Peterborough or not, or if he got on the train at Peterborough or not. There's some facts about that we don't know yet. But Peterborough itself, for example, again, these are just facts, has a Muslim population that is twice as high as the average English town. The Muslim population of Peterborough is 12.2%. The typical British town is about 6%, right? So it's relatively speaking, it's got a high Muslim population. It's also got, in terms of the ethnicities of the people who live in Peterborough, more black people live in Peterborough than in many of the other areas around that. So those are just the two things that we that can be said as matters of fact. I'm not suggesting anything. Well, we subsequently discover that the alleged attacker, is a black guy. I mean, is it relevant? I'm not sure. I really can't. We don't know. I mean, the thing is, this is the whole problem in this one. The police have been very particular to make sure that we don't get much information. But there was some bits of information we got out pretty damn quick, actually, pretty fast. What we were told very quickly was that this was not terrorist related. This was not a terror attack. You got that? It wasn't a terror attack. So, okay, why was it not a terror attack? Is it just me? But I would have thought people being stabbed, some of them quite seriously on a train, that was an act of terrorism. But turns out that no, it's not. And you know the reason why it's not an act of terrorism? I'll tell you why it's not an act of terrorism. Because there is a very tight description, a legal description of what terrorism is. Very tight description. And so the alleged attacker, whose name I believe is let me get his name. He is Anthony Mitchell, I think it is, or Williams. Don't really want to give him that much fame for what he's done, but this was not terrorism anyway. So it's not. And I think actually we got a video. This is on Huntington Station. This is him calmly walking. You see all the people running like mad. Here he comes. Do you see him there? That's the alleged attacker strolling along the the train station. But it's not. The media were quick to say it's not terrorist related, and the reason for that, there's another video of him. Like, he's on camera. We have him. Pretty clear. We have to be careful of our language because this is obviously a live case, as I was reminded by a prominent journalist earlier today. And in a way, I don't really want to talk about him too much. But here's the thing. This is not terrorist related, because under the 2000 Terrorist Act in the UK, for it to be an act of terrorism, it has to be seen not just to be, terrorizing individuals or groups of people or whatever, but it has to have an intent of changing or influencing government policy. Right? And that's how they get out of it. That is their get out of jail card. So that's what, basically nothing is going to be an act of terrorism in this country. That was another story. There was a subsequent, but as is pointed out here, and I can see it by James Jameson here, Tommy Robinson goes back to the court tomorrow in London, I believe, to hear his fate on terrorism charges. And Tommy's crime was he wouldn't hand over his phone to the police. And that's a terrorist crime. Hacking 11 people on a train, not a terrorist crime. Not a terrorist crime. Yes, Donninger, that's the reality of Chris Davies says. If only he had his digital ID. Well, exactly, Chris. That would have saved everything, wouldn't it? because no digital ID. Well, what would he do? So that was the first thing. So it's not terrorism because he wasn't sick. And here he is. Here's the guy concerned. You can see him with a very sharp looking blade. A very sharp looking blade on the train. And because, of course, here in the UK, we are unarmed. We are literally, lambs to the slaughter. This guy just was able to, I mean, imagine everyone watching this. Imagine you're sitting on a train and you see a guy like that coming towards you. What you going to do? What if you've got a young child or an elderly relative beside you? In fact, never mind that. What if it's just you? And how do you defend against that? How do you defend against that? You don't. And that is the problem. That's a real problem we have. But I believe that it was an act of terror. I do believe it was an act of terror. And I think the police and the establishment have it set up so that when we all, like most normal people, whenever you read about this sort of stuff happening, you're pretty outraged. You'd be pretty outraged. Chris Davey says, I wonder who's covering his shifts at the hospital. Yeah, or in NASA. I mean, who's going to cover his time in NASA? Just trying to read this here. Yeah, this is an interesting point. Apparently, there was a back in March, I think it was. They did stage a kind of one of these tests, or let you imagine there was a knife attack in a train. Well, they did do it, but I'm also told, by the way, British Transport Police did hold an emergency exercise back in March, which ironically involved a stabbing on a train traveling south near Huntington. The thing about this is, initially I thought, well, that's a bit suspicious, but I've been told from my sources, including those in the fire brigade and whatnot, that it's not that unusual. Huntington also, John Major, the former prime minister, the former absolutely useless prime minister, he lives in Huntington. And so because of that, there's always quite a strong police presence, which is why the police were able to get to the train station within a few minutes. Here's an interesting headline here for you. Did this surprise anybody? Oh my goodness, the knife man had a history of mental health issues and was known to the authorities. Well, so says the Daily Mail. However, Shabana Mahmood, our esteemed, I think she's the Home Secretary. She said, just to confirm, he was not known to the special terrorism, anti-terrorism groups and such like. She was very cute not to say that he was. She didn't rule out him being known to the police. He just wasn't known to the anti-terrorism squad. So it's all kinds of euphemistic evasions. It really, really is. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. They're going to say this guy, mental health issues, possibly, just trying to read this here. A Huntington train station. Yeah. Is this the place where the police actually tasered the wrong guy? It's comedy of errors. The police tasered, because Tommy Robinson was saying, the police tasered the wrong guy at the station as well. Now, was he a lone wolf? Did he have a psychotic episode? Because that's what they said when the Afghan hacked the dog walker to death. That was a psychotic episode. And I would not be at all surprised if this guy had a psychotic episode. But it gets more complicated, because turns out, if the allegations are correct, that it wasn't just that train he was stabbing, because earlier, that happened at nighttime, as I said, at Peterborough. But apparently, according to reports, he'd been on if any of you guys have travelled on the light railway down in London, sort of out Canary Wharf direction, apparently he'd stabbed somebody there as well. And that was in the wee hours of the morning. And then, allegedly, he then travelled up the network and then got on Peterborough and did more stabbing. But then on the Friday night, before any of this happened, there's suggestions that he may have stabbed the 14-year-old boy in Peterborough itself. Yeah, this is a DLR. So this is so weird. So this guy was stabbing on the DLR down in London, which long, quite a distance from came from Peterborough. So I believe he's been charged for this as well. So he's been charged for that down in London. Came up and then did the stuff between Peterborough and Huntingdon. But the night before that, there's a suggestion he did stab or attack 14-year-old boy and also a couple of other people in Peterborough itself. So it appears to have been an extenuated stabbing period for this guy, which is, well, it's odd. It's very odd. And so it just makes me think that I've got a couple of theories on where they might go with this one. As Jed put up the thing earlier, they're going to play the mental health card. Definitely mental health card. But here's one for you. And I wonder, is this possible? Given his name and the fact that he said something, the devil will not win. That's what he said. Or words to that effect. He said that. And that's so weird. I mean, a lot of people were saying, is this a jihad attack? Right. Some people were speculating that. Not an unreasonable thing to speculate upon. But in some ways, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. And I'm not sure what this guy is. Maybe he's just, what he comes across as, a complete psychopath. But could it be that could the media say, well, this guy he's a radicalized Christian. He's a radicalized Christian, and he's Christian nationalists. And therefore, we have to understand that these guys constitute a real threat to us just as much as Islam does. In fact, we need to make sure we can protect Islam and Muslims from Christian nationalists because of what this guy has done. So I just wonder, is this where they're going to go with this one? I mean, it is a possibility. You could see the devilish evil if they played that card and use this guy who does seem to be completely out to lunch. But I mean, we know nothing about his background, or at least I know nothing about his background. Don't know what family he comes from. Don't know anything at all. Other than that, I'm telling you this, someone who goes rampaging around the English Rail network, stabbing people, there's something seriously wrong there. Something really wrong. And of course, we should be grateful for the fact that I do understand that a couple of staff members on the train itself, the one guy in particular, and he's the guy who's seriously injured with life-threatening injuries. This guy actually did try to stop him. But I mean, I'm just wondering, how do you stop someone? Yes, Chris Davis, the early indications were that he'd said Allah Akbar. But I don't know that those are credible. I have no verification of that at all. So I don't know. But here's a question for you then. Okay, so let's suppose it wasn't Islam. What was his motivation? I mean, you don't just start to cruise around the English train network stabbing people unless there's something happening. There's some motivation there. What is the motivation? Why won't the Prime Minister talk about this? In fact, for that matter, Antonio points out, where has Starmer been in this one? Yeah, well, of course, that's the, I mean, in fact, come to think of it, where have any of the politicians been in this one? That's why I despise the politicians so much, As I put it earlier today, it seems to me in the UK at the moment, it's where the government stands between us and safety. Think about that. That's where the government stands. So I think they've spent the last 48 hours trying to cover this up, trying to, first of all, leak as little information as possible, be very selective about it, make sure that we rule out terrorism, make sure there's no link to Islam, and then basically it becomes a live case, and then you're not allowed to talk about it. That's how the British government state does this. Do you follow me? It's remarkable. Oh, James, just to say, Starmer will be on his way to Rio. They're all flying down to Rio for the COP27 summit. I think. And Chris, you're absolutely right. They will all hide behind the fact that this is an active investigation, and because it's an active investigation, you can't say anything. I see the point from Antonio here. I'm supposed to be on a train to London on Wednesday. I'm considering not bothering now. Well, I don't blame you. As I said, I mean, I was on a train when I heard this story, which is why it struck me with real vengeance, because because as I said, my mood on a train is, well, certainly, maybe if it was a London train, it'd be different, well, because you'd have your stab vest on, wouldn't you? But if in other parts of the UK, you don't necessarily have to wear a stab vest to go on the train. So you relax, so you'd be, someone came at you, you're just, I don't know what you would do. I don't know. I feel so bad for those people. Can you imagine what that experience must have been like for all those folks on that train? I'm sure, like all trains, you get all age groups. You get children as well. Apparently, there was one guy intervened to stop him stabbing a 14-year-old girl. So, there's that, isn't there? So this guy seemed to he just wanted to create carnage, friends. That's what he wanted to do. Why? What's the motivation? What is it that Shabana Mahmood knows that she won't tell us? What does Keir Starmer know that he won't tell us? What do the British Transport Police know? What do the anti-terrorism police know? I do not believe we are being told all that they know. Do you agree with me? I mean, I'm so certain of that. And people will say, well, they have to test and verify things. Such bollocks that. And whenever the 3 young girls were murdered by a second-generation Rwandan in Southport, before the court, we had all the details. The police the police, or sorry, not the police, the politicians, Starmer and the rest of them were speculating could be right-wing terror. I mean, we don't have any right-wing terror in this country, by the way. That's the first thing. And James, you're right. We don't. There's a lot of stuff about Southport we don't know. We don't know. But all I'm saying is that I don't see why we can't speculate upon this. We should be able to speculate as to, or just ask questions like, we pay the politician's salary, so I want to know what was the background to this guy. It's bound to come out, but there are some weird things, a couple of weird things. Everybody, you go everywhere you go now, people have mobile phones. How come there's been almost zero mobile phone coverage of what happened in those carriages? How come? Have Special Branch or has somebody moved in and had a word? Seems weird. That seems very weird. Antonio says, I suspect it's massively going to kick off at their Villa match on Thursday. Well, Antonio, we'll be able to cover it live on our live podcast on Thursday night. I've actually written an article about that over on my Substack today, actually, because that's another case where Aston Villa, obviously, Villa Park under siege from Islamo-fascist agitators. Just my usual mild-mannered stuff, but do check it out over on the... actually, it's quite a good one. Just bring that back as I play, Chad. Just to promote my own work. I wrote one today, When Terror Isn't Terrorism, explaining what I've just explained to you guys. And then Villa Park under siege from Islamo-fascists. And then deport, I was particularly pleased with this one, deport Somalia first, Ilhan Omar now. So if you want to get good value, please do jump over to the Substack, and you'll always get good stuff over there. Oh my, civil war is coming. I mean, it's all there, folks. It is all there. But yeah, so Chris, you're right. There's very little full mobile phone coverage of it. I find that weird. I find that very strange. Some of the people, though, that were on the carriages, because I think he went through them, and they all kind of fled from the front of the train, from the back of the train to the front of the train, as you would do. But, and then did you see the most stupid thing ever? Did you see the one of the Labour ministers, I think he's in charge of the army, he's an absolute tosser, coming out and saying he hadn't ruled out introducing airport-style security at train stations. Did you see that? Most stupid suggestion ever, by the way. Oh yeah, that's really what we need. Can you imagine how? Could you imagine? King's Cross or any major train station, if everyone had to go through and be searched and be X-rayed and all the rest of this. No. There's a much easier way to solve it, by the way. Much easier. Don't need any of that. In fact, we don't need airport security, airport style security at airports, in my opinion. I don't think we do. We just need to make sure that one particular demographic doesn't go through them. That's all we need to do. Job done. Problem solved. But yeah, don't. So this clown suggested. Well, he hadn't ruled it out, which suggested. Well, were you considering this? Are you going to be having? I mean, look, a lot of you folks like Antonio, you travel on the UK train network and the train stations. There is no way you could have that level of security. But then, yes, it's all part and parcel, as a certain mayor would say. I mean, one of the things I found most sickening on Saturday night. So I picked the story up on a train, and when I got back, I was able to get all the more information. Chris says, if it was a false flag, Alistair, my friend Alistair Williams, great comedian, will be all over it. I don't know. The thing about false flags is some things are, some things aren't. I think this was probably a genuine attack, but we don't know the motivation. And honestly, like whenever that dog walker was hacked to death, we were told he was the Afghan migrant who did it was having a psychotic episode. And of course, this plays into the mental illness. Mental illness is the final card. Once the mental illness card is played, they can turn around and they can say, yeah, well, Chris, that's a fair point. No footage. It's weird. But then again, okay, I can ask you, if you were on a train and there was a guy coming towards you with that knife, would your first instinct be, I've got to film this? Or would your first instinct be, I've got to get the hell out of here? But I mean, yeah, a packed train, it's strange. It is definitely strange. Regardless of which, anyway, you don't need to have airport style security. That was so embarrassing. And I mean, we got out statements from Sadiq Khan, from Keir Starmer, from Shabana Mahmood, all the usual suspects, all desperate to make, to say, oh, thoughts and prayers with the injured. Yeah. I mean, we're sick of that. I don't want, was there no CCTV? I mean, there must have been, because we've seen a couple of images and snaps of the alleged culprit. We have seen that. So I don't know. I mean, we've seen nothing. The truth of the matter is we have seen nothing. Us plebs have seen nothing. And the government and the media, all the mainstream media, they're just running it just straight down to the usual game plan. And as I say, mental health will equal, we can't talk about it anymore. Apparently, he'll be, I think I read that he will be taken to court next summer. I think I saw that somewhere. So next summer, are you kidding me? There was people like Lucy Connolly were sent to prison in a matter of days in August of 2024. But this guy, oh no, we need about 6 months, maybe 7, 8 months to be able to take it to court. So it's very, very, very sickening to see how the British state, it has only one mode. You hear this, the awful Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. Funny that the Home Secretary urges us not to speculate. Yeah. But when it came to Southport, oh yeah, they absolutely did. That's my friend, the stark naked brief barrister over there. And yes, we're always told not to speculate. And so do you understand how they do this? They want you to shut up. They want you to shut up. I'm surprised Starmer hasn't already come out and said, well, if we had digital ID, this wouldn't have happened. How would it stop it? How would it stop anything? It wouldn't stop a damn thing. Digital ID, it's obviously all part of the 2030 agenda and all of that, but it wouldn't prevent a terrorist attack like this. So, I mean, well, actually, Grantonia makes a point, unless it's a white man driving through a crowd in Liverpool. But the media were very, they were very quick to tell us it was a white man driving through that crowd in Liverpool. They were. And I guess fair enough, give us the details. In this case, they've been reasonably quick to get out his ethnicity. But I don't really care what his skin color is. You see, heads up, those of people on the left, those of us on the center right, we're not obsessing about skin color. What we want to know is, what was his ideology? What was his motivation? Why did he think he would go down to London, stab somebody, then come back up, stab 11 more people, and possibly having stabbed people the previous? I mean, there has to be reasons. There's always a reason for everything. Life is ultimately, there's a reason, there's a motivation. And this guy didn't just hack people together, hack all these people on the train for no good reason. There was a motivation there. And that's the elephant in the room. That's what the Home Secretary won't talk about. That's what Stormer won't talk about. And I think the media are going to coalesce around mental health. And once mental health is mentioned, believe you me, this case is going to go very quiet. By the end of this week, we'll not be talking about it. Just like, if you think about it, whenever those people were stabbed by the Afghan, and obviously the one chap was hacked to death, it was awful. Where's that going to in the news cycle now? Oh no, let's talk about Prince Andrew a bit more. Let's talk about Andrew. That's the most important story in the world. And this is how they do it. They run counter narratives so that whenever you might be sitting up thinking, hang on a second, how come we're allowing migrants to hack our people to death in the street? Prince Andrew. Hang on a second. How come that this guy got on a train and hacked all these people and injured them so grievously? Sorry, Grantonia, of course, Wayne Broadhurst. It was the dog, the chap who was out walking his dog. I mean, yes, you're right. We should remember these people's names. Sometimes it's hard for me because I have so many names in my head. But yes, of course, you're right. And no one should die in this country for taking their dog for a walk. No one should be taken to hospital with serious injuries because of the crime of taking a train. But that's the sort of place that Britain's becoming. The things that you and I, all of us on this stream, would have taken for granted as it's just what you do. You get on the train. Now, I have to admit with you, in London, from a London perspective, I would be much more alert on a London train, an underground train in London. I'll be honest with you, I am on high alert because I know it's a danger zone. I know London's a danger zone. But every train, anywhere? Could this happen anywhere? Yeah, it could. Could this happen anywhere? It most definitely could. And like, as I said, Peterborough may resemble more like Mogadishu than Manchester, but even then, it's still. I was still shocked to see Huntingdon in the news. As I say, I spent a very pleasant day there, and in the little market square up to the Cromwell birth space, all of that, and it's quite shocking when you see a place that you sort of have been to and make it all the news headlines, but for reasons like this. So it is quite quite shocking. But if it can happen in Huntingdon, it can happen wherever you live, or indeed where I live for that matter. And this is the problem. We have. Chris Davies says, I'm on the Kremlin payroll. Well, I mean, I'm on the Kremlin payroll. I'm on the Mossad payroll. So many payrolls. And yet, Chris, no money has been received yet. An English bottle cup says, Huntingdon is the only news because that was where the unscheduled stop occurred. Oh, you did, right. I mean, it's just happenstance. I completely understand that. I mean, the train had a scheduled stop at Peterborough, and then it was going, I think, all the way down to King's Cross. But obviously, some quick thinking on the part of the train driver and the signallers, I think, at Huntingdon, they were able to stop the train. I mean, if this train had gone on for another 20 minutes or whatever, God knows what the consequences would have been. Um, and like it does make you think that basically those people were all defenseless. Like when I get on a train normally, like say on Saturday night, like, I've got no, I'm just it just got a jacket on me. That's it. So if a guy came at me with a knife, I mean, I'm not sure what I could do. You put your hand up to defend yourself. What? And then you get. I mean, what do you do? And see, this is a problem American friends don't understand. Well, they do understand, but they maybe wonder how we ever let it happen. We, as a British population, are unarmed. We have no weapons. In fact, actually, yes, Antonio, I saw it's happened. I've seen it on social media over the last number of days, where particularly women are saying that, well, I'm going to bring some deep heat spray out with me. Did you see this? Deep heat spray. Yeah, English bottle cap. It had to be quickly rerouted. That's right. That's exactly right. But this is from, so women, oh, well, we're all going to be a wee bit stressed by things like this, but women in particular to protect themselves. And some women have said, well, I'm going to carry deep heat. I don't know if you've seen deep heat. It's a kind of a spray that you apply to if you've got back pain or something like that. But it could also be used potentially on an attacker. And I saw the legal advice is that if you do that, you're committing a crime. You're committing a crime, right? If you're carrying deep heat as a potential weapon, then then you are committing a crime. Well, of course, you could say similarly saying, "Oh no, I suffer from a lot of backache, so I always have a handy tin of deep heat on me." But yeah, I mean, Antonio says, imagine if it was a carriage full of kids. I mean, it's there, but for the grace of God, these things. You look back, you look at this and you think, I'm so sorry that anyone got any injuries at all. No one should have had to go through this on Saturday night, obviously. But what's your defense? How do you defend yourself? Do you just, what do you grab? Do you hit them with your mobile phone? Hit the prospective attacker? I mean, I don't know if we can bring back the picture of the attacker with the knife, because I did put the image up of him with his knife. But I was just thinking of this image and thinking, what would you do? Like seriously, what would you do? What would I do if this was coming for me? And say my wife was with me or whatever. What would I do? I wonder if we can bring like there you go, folks. I mean, that's reality. Forget all the bull that the media is giving you. That's the reality of this individual. And I mean, we've seen it. Like, how do you defend against that on a train? And I don't know. Maybe everyone should suddenly develop backache, so they all have got deep heat. Not that I'm advising anyone, but I don't know how you do defend yourself, though. But yeah, I mean, it's a very good point. The police are shooting and tasering. You have to laugh. The police did taser the wrong guy, and then the police. Oh, this is the other thing. The police then said they'd taken two people into custody. They were both. One was a British-born black guy, and the other one was of Caribbean origin. Whatever that means, I have no idea what that means, right? But that's what they said. And of course, the reason they put that out was so that, first of all, you had to understand it wasn't a Muslim who did the attack. Secondly, it wasn't a migrant who done the attack. So you can understand, they're sitting there in the Home Office or whatever, or with their playbook wide open, and they're going, right, page right, first thing, let's make sure that they understand it's definitely not a migrant. Well, I mean, this chap may well not be a migrant, a first-generation migrant, but I'm suggesting he probably doesn't go back to the time of Henry VIII. So, there's that. So British born. Uh, okay, so he's British born. Fine. You've heard me often say it. I keep saying it. Being born in a stable doesn't make you a horse. It doesn't. Sorry if that offends some people. Oh, my clutch my pearls, but it doesn't. So that's why we need to understand more about the background here. And it's the background that they're keeping from us. Now, maybe tomorrow we find out more. I don't know. English bottle cap says a leather trouser belt with a large metal buckle can be quickly adapted for self-defense. Yeah, that's a fair enough point. If you've got a leather trouser belt on you, but yeah, I mean, like improvisation and all of that. But you shouldn't have to. You're on a train. You should feel safe. There shouldn't be a reason for that. Chris Davies is telling me, David, he's as British as Prince Philip. Yeah, the Mountbattens or the Battenbergs. Did you know? Did just a factoid? Prince Philip's family heritage. They took the name Battenbergs, which mountains from the Batten area of Germany, I think. So they anglified it and it became Mountbatten. So Battenberg, Mountbatten, as English as can be, a bit like the Saxe-Coburgs, as English as can be. Totally English, totally British. And if you believe that, but that's a royal family. We mustn't talk about a royal family, especially if it's, well, we're allowed to talk about the prince formerly known, no, the Andrew formerly known as the prince, but anyway, whichever way. Grantonio says when the civil war does happen, a certain demographic will have a cache of weapons in their mosques. Well, a certain demographic, we saw it in Birmingham last August of 2024. Do you remember? In the street protests after the Southport murders, we did see some pretty sort of serious people, which actually we may see again this Thursday night, because as I wrote in that article that we talked about earlier, Aston Villa play Maccabi Tel Aviv on Thursday night. I think I'm sure some of you can correct me. I think it's a UEFA Cup. But if I could be wrong on that, because I don't pay a lot of attention to these competitions. But this is the one, as you know, that all the local Muslims activists, the Palestinian people, supporters in that area of Birmingham, basically agitated to get English bottle cap is coming up with lots of good ideas to defend yourself. Elasticated braces can become a catapult. Yeah. Brilliant. Keepers, listen, pay attention, folks. This can save your life. So I'll be interested to see what happens on Thursday night. You know, it's shameful the way that Keir Starmer and the British government have allowed the bullies in the Muslim community in that part of Birmingham to basically keep away the Jewish fans. That's the truth of it. Maccabi Tel Aviv said that they wouldn't be even it's too dangerous to send their fans to Birmingham. And I feel really bad about that, because that's a victory for radical Islamists in Birmingham. And the Prime Minister of this country all he said was, it would be better if it could go ahead, but hey ho. Nicole says, I'm traveling on a train later this month with my mum, and I've already been having conversations, getting in the mindset to travel. Now we have to psych ourselves out for it. We shouldn't. No, that's right, Nicole. You shouldn't have to. That's the whole point. I mean, Bottle Cap's coming up with great ideas here, and fair enough. But are we safe anywhere? Is the question. Seriously. I mean, are you safe in a bus? No. Safe in a train? No. Safe in an airport or an airplane? No. You're not. There's a reason why you're not safe. And Chris says 500 Jewish fans causing trouble in a 90% Muslim area. Go figure. Yeah. That'll be interesting to see what happens on Thursday night. I just think that it's absolutely disgraceful. I mean, they've got an independent MP in that area, and he stood by standing on a pro-Palestinian ticket. And this is the problem. This actually is the problem. You see how this works. So the reality is that we have people being elected to Parliament, not on British issues, how to make life better for people in Birmingham, for example. No, on Gaza. They have absolutely weaponized the Gaza issue. And because this cowardly government that we have relies on the Muslim vote, they're very reluctant to say too much. They don't want to go there. They just don't want to go there. Well, Stormer certainly doesn't, and his front benches. They have indeed entered the citadel, and that maybe Nicole says she doesn't use taxis. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure where you are safe, because the fundamental reason that we see the comment there, Chris. I leave it for others to read that. But actually, the West Midlands Police, who will be doing, I think, is there going to be 700 police officers at this match on Thursday night, this football match? 700. How many? There's going to be, as far as I know, there's going to be no Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. So who are the 700 police officers? Why are they going there? I don't understand. And by the way, something else in this one. We talked a lot about Prince Andrew, King Charles, that. But here's the thing. Prince William is a big Aston Villa fan. He has kept his mouth shut throughout this, to the best of my knowledge anyway. He said nothing on it. He has nothing to say. So William's not standing up for the Jews now, are you, William? You're an absolute disgrace. It's all very well to talk about other members of the royal family, but Prince William has made such a song and a dance about the fact he loves going down the Villa. Oh, he loves watching the Villa. And then whenever this happens, he has nothing to say about the Villa. And this is, that's why I believe, yeah, he probably is in Rio with the gang. We're all going down to Rio to the, it's not the Earth Summit, is it? It's the, I forget it. It's Earthshot. I think it is something stupid like that, something environmental. I actually put it, if you're checking my social media feed, just a few back, I put a post up about, I saw the mayor of Tracy Babin. I think you've gone past it there. She's the mayor of Leeds or somewhere like that anyway. And she's starting posing. She's posing outside some location in Rio, and she's telling us how. I think I thought I saw her there. She was, fighting climate change in Rio. These bunch of hypocrites, by the way, are traveling all the way across the Atlantic, all the way down to Brazil, all the way down to Rio, to fight climate change. Oh God! Yes, there she goes. I mean, honestly, they have no shame. Tracy Brabham, Mayor of West Yorkshire. Yeah, she would be. And as she says, with devolution, we no longer, this is incredible when you think about it, we no longer have to wait for our national leaders to rescue us from the cost of living and climate crisis. I mean, how could you look at her posing? I'm so sexy. Look, I've got my dress, lovely white dress. Look, I'm just posing, just nice in the sunshine, lovely blue sky above. She's in Brazil. She's letting the people of West Yorkshire know that she's in Brazil. That's gonna make such a difference, Tracy. Thank God we've got people like you, and thank God you've gone there to fight the terrible climate crisis that confronts us all. Yeah, is it COP30, Chris? Yeah, it's it's the biggest scam ever. It's a massive scam. Everyone knows we need more CO2, not less CO2. But it's more the fact that people like her, these titular mayors, think that they need to be down there as well. It's so embarrassing, so cringe. It's cringe, embarrassing. But they have no shame. They have no shame. That's the thing that I conclude. Another thing about having no shame. I just want, that I've been critical. I will criticize as I see fit anyone or any group. I'm not going to hold back. And I've said some things about, reform and whatnot. But I will defend reform from, again, it's in my feed, Jed, you'll have a look. The Conservatives put a tweet out today, see, having a go at reform. Reform, they don't have an economic plan. And this is because Nigel Farage came out and said that they wouldn't be able to afford to cut taxes. I think we maybe have it here. Farage, I won't cut tax until public spending is under control. Yeah, that's not actually the one I wanted yet. There's another one where I had to go with the Conservatives. But I understand what Farage is saying. You can argue the toss on it. But here's the bloody thing: the Tories have some nerve criticizing Nigel Farage, his economic plans. When they presided over, they gave us a failed Brexit. They presided over record immigration. They wrecked our economy over the COVID scam back in 2021. They are in no position to patronize Nigel Farage and reform. So I think you've gone past it yet. So yeah, so I'm actually standing up for reform. Just so that I am an equal opportunities critic. And I don't think the Tories are ever going to get back in. The Boris wave, exactly. I'm not sure what that one is, Jed, if that's it or not. But the Tories anyway should having the temerity to criticize reform. No, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. Given what they did. So Chris Davey says, why is Nigel Farage not sued Sultana for libel? Yeah, I mean, look, it's I guess if things are said under parliamentary, this is it. And this is where I will stand up for reform. I was outraged at this. Here is the Tories saying, reform have broken their promise to the British people to bring taxes down. And all Farage is saying is, well, look, we have to balance the books before we bring taxes down. Now, I mightn't quite agree. I don't totally agree with him in that, but I understand it. It's a fair enough point that that reform are making. And these hypocrites in the Conservative Party are saying, reform have broken their contract with the British people. Well, you broke your contract over Brexit. You broke your contract over mass migration. That's why you're out of office, and you're never going to come back. Bunch of hypocrites. So that's why, going back to my healthy contempt for political parties, they really are, basically. So I think somebody once said that if you at some point in your life have an indication that you might like to go into politics, right? So this has been said. Somebody should step up and have a word in your ear and tell you, just don't do it. Don't do this, because it's, you shouldn't want to be in politics, basically. And I can understand that. I did it twice. So, do I regret it? Not really. No, but for all the wrong reasons. So there you have it, my friends. Anyway, that was a terrible thing that happened at the weekend. And I'm glad I hope everyone makes a full recovery from the wounds and the stab wounds that they got, on the train. But I guess I'm very concerned that this is going to be sanitized in the next 24, 48 hours. They're going to sanitize it. It's going to be mental health. And whether they give us a twist with some other aspect that I can't think of, I don't know. But I just think it's awful that in the UK, you cannot trust the government to stand up for us. As I put it earlier today, in the UK, you're more likely to be arrested for commenting on a terror attack than actually carrying out a terror attack. And you're going to vote Vance in the US. Did everyone see the brilliant JD Vance meme he put out of, I'm sure you've all seen it anyway, but it so tickled my fancy, where, the lefties put out they thought they'd got JD Vance with that meme of him with, the weird hair and his face bloated and whatnot. And then on Halloween, JD Vance came out with the wig and all on him. This is the meme JD Vance versus JD Vance. That's the meme one on the left. That's JD. That's brilliant. Honestly, I think Donald Trump's a brilliant president, but I think Jenny Vance, I know I'm biased, but I think what it proves is that if the lefties think that they can mock us and humiliate us by putting memes, they don't know how to do it. And I was so impressed with Jenny Vance. So that's yeah, the meme king Jenny Vance. That was superb. That was one of the best things I've seen in quite a while, and it certainly lifted the mood after the terrible events at Huntington. So look, folks, there he is. There's so many of these. There's another one where I don't think it's him doing the dance, but anyway, it's just I think you know something. The best way to take on your critics, it's don't get angry with them, mock them, laugh at them, because then they really really go berserk, you know. And that's exactly what JT Vance did. Yeah, actually, in this one here, you probably can't hear it, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, but this was he came out and when he comes out and says,
Halloween, kids, and remember, say thank you.
And that was brilliant about that. It's just before we go, what's really good about that is when he said, "Remember, say thank you." That goes back to the Zelensky meeting in the White House when JD Vance said to Zelensky, "Have you even said thank you?" So what a great way to actually end the show on that one there. That was one of my favorite moments. That was brilliant memeing. And English bottle cap. Only intelligent people are able to mock. Yeah, it's good to be able to do that. James says I used to dance like that in the 1970s. I can neither confirm nor deny that, James. Anyway, look, folks, thanks for spending the past hour with me. I appreciate your time. All you YouTubers, I see you all over there, and those of you in X as well, and the other platforms. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget, Thursday night, 8 o'clock, we're live on the podcast channels. You can come in, we can chat, bring a bottle, as I always say, and we'll put the world to right. So I'll see you then. In the meantime, check out all the Substacks, check out all the podcasts, and if you're really a glutton for punishment, check me over on my X feed and all the rest of it. But either which way, thanks for tonight, and see you tomorrow, and then live on Thursday night. It's from me. It's good night.